Alright, I'm doing this this particular video just to give you a contrast between Fox and MSNBC. The Fox videos, when discussing the subject of the Dallas shooting, basically is a fire and brimstone type analysis as far as their commentators are concerned. MSNBC normally takes a much lighter touch. Now, I'm not a big fan of Pete Sessions, but in my opinion, excuse me, his comments and responses are reasonable, unlike those of the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who's basically screaming and almost going crazy when he did the Fox interview. Here we go with Pete Sessions.
Involved in these senseless murders will be held fully accountable. Justice will be done.
That was President Obama speaking in Poland this morning. Meantime, the two presidential candidates will not be campaigning today because of the shootings in Dallas. Hillary Clinton has postponed her event with Vice President Joe Biden in Scranton, Pennsylvania, tweeting, "I mourn for the officers shot while doing their sacred duty to protect peaceful officers, for their families, and all who serve with them." Donald Trump also canceled his events in Miami. Earlier this morning, he tweeted, "Prayers and condolences to all of the families who are so thoroughly devastated by the horrors we are all watching take place in our country."
And funny, Donald Trump didn't have shit to say about those two police murders in Louisiana and Minnesota, but a cop gets shot and all of a sudden he's going to jump up and down and go crazy.
Congressman Pete Sessions of Texas joins us now. Congressman, I am, first of all, so sorry for you and all of your constituents and those in Dallas. What a really tough morning. What are you hearing?
Well, last night was a very difficult time for us all as we watched what was seemingly the Dallas Police Department and DART, which is our local transportation police, working with the people of Dallas to say we can look at this national circumstance, we can walk together, we can understand we want to avoid Dallas, Texas, not getting what is a nationwide problem. And in that process, they were ambushed, they were taken advantage of, and the officers who gave their life did so at a risk of running to the problem instead of running from it. And while we want to be proud of our officers, we give thanks for their duty and service, but give thanks for their life and their families this morning. Our Dallas community has a way. We are a very loving, open people, and we've got to heal ourselves, but so does the country.
There is obviously the politics that surrounds any kind of mass shooting, and now you have it directed racially, it appears, from the words of one of the shooters at white police officers. And you said in an interview with a local TV station, they tweeted, you said, "These criminals targeted our officers and we cannot and will not tolerate this." What can be done?
Well, what can be done is that communities need to and can heal themselves. Without outsiders, without agitators, the Dallas community can come together. Our awesome police chief, David Brown, is seen throughout the community as a positive force. Our mayor, Mike Rawlins, can walk into any area of town and ask that people come together. Our leaders in churches and synagogues can come together as we have. We found a way to heal ourselves from the past. Dallas has been a part of probably some divisive times. I believe we're going to do this because we recommit ourselves, just as the police department did, who sacrificed above all to work and walk with people throughout this process. But it's going to take a lot of understanding on both sides. We simply don't want what happened in Dallas to spill over anywhere else in the country. And so the processes of loving people and with people with resolve is what this is about. We will handle this without blaming someone or pointing the finger. The pointing of the finger is at criminals, and criminals are in all of our midst, and we've got to correct that.
See, now that's reasonable, and nobody basically can disagree with anything he said. And he said it in a really calm and reserved manner, unlike that asshole, Dan Patrick.
In the meantime, we had expected to speak with you just a little bit earlier, but the U.S. Capitol went into lockdown. And can you tell us anything about that? What are you hearing? Have you heard anything from Capitol Police?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there was a person of interest who was reported to have a weapon of some sort, a woman that was entering the building, and so taking the appropriate precautions, the Capitol was shut down, put on lockdown, and evidently they've now lifted that, and so I was able to come here, and I'm delighted to be with you.
But to your knowledge, there wasn't any real and present danger to the people who were inside the Capitol?
Yeah, it's hard to know. I think they acted off precaution and the caution of information, and for that I give thanks.
Let me just ask you finally, Congressman, because there are a lot of Americans on edge. Obviously, your city, the city of Dallas, is on edge, and understandably so. But all across America, what has happened with the police shootings and the loss of black lives have caused the protests that we saw last night. Peaceful protests until what broke out at 9 o'clock Dallas time. But what do you see then as the focus of the larger conversation? You say Dallas is going to heal itself, and I have no doubt that if we saw here in New York after 9/11, cities do come together, people come together. But there is a reality here that there are more shootings like this since Ferguson, that we continue to see violence, that we continue to see hatred spilling out onto the streets. Do you think it can just heal itself?
You have alluded to many of the credentialing that we have seen of where police officers and citizens were engaged in conflict with each other. This was the reverse. This was directly aimed and targeted at police officers. So I think that we're going to have to understand that whether it is a suspect that is being taken into custody, whether it is the police in doing their job, or whether it is a citizen involved in some altercation, we've got to look at the facts and let those communities heal themselves. And they want to, and they have. But what happens is that the social media, the outbreaks, other people act out around the country. And in doing so, I would just remind us, our police have to be cognizant that their presence and their actions do have consequences, but likewise, people need our police officers to fully do their job and not back away. And so there has to be a recognition on both sides that we all live in glass houses right now. Even here in the United States Capitol, every one of us are vulnerable, and we need to look at each other and act responsibly with each other, and literally to be responsible in the way that we respond. Now, how do you heal yourself? You heal yourself because the leaders of this country need to talk about healing, not dividing. And when you point a finger, you divide. So we need to heal, and that's what we intend to do in Dallas, Texas. Our mayor does, our police chief does, and I think you will see our city leaders, including our religious leaders, talk at church on Sunday morning about how we've got to come together for the sake of not just this country, but our children and the kind of life we're going to live.
Congressman Pete Sessions of Texas, thank you for taking the time, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, like I said, there's a different tone when people speak, I guess, on MSNBC versus the tone on Fox. Pete Sessions was reasonable. I could identify and agree with the majority of everything that he said. I had no problem listening to him. On the other end, I did a video on Fox, and every last one of the people that they brought on in the video that I did basically was spitting fire and brimstone, pointing fingers at Black Lives Matter and various, they want to call it black power, whatever that is these days, etc. So Pete's right, pointing fingers is not going to work. Basically, we're going to need to bring people together. And as I said earlier, the people that really need to examine themselves are the various police forces. And they know when they got a bad apple, they need to do something in order to remove those bad apples, in order to grow closer to the communities.